Enhanced Quality of Life is one of the best catch-all add-ons, and I'm going to walk you through all of its features and how to use it. The chapters below to navigate to whichever features you're looking for if you don't want to watch the entire video. So to start using the add-on, you're going to go escape to options, so top left where it says add-ons, and then you're going to see Enhanced Quality of Life like this. You're going to press the plus sign, and then you're going to have all the options that you can click through. Starting off with, how do you hide action bars? For each action bar, you can set visibility rules to be mouse over, which means that they disappear and they only show when you mouse over them. So then to be always in combat, so they just show up when you're in combat. To only make them active when you're skyriding if you need to see, or set them to always be always out of combat. You can also do a combination of two if you want to be mouse over and then always show up in combat, or any other combination you want. You can also change the fade amount if you want them to be on mouse over, but you want them to be like a little bit visible when they aren't. You can hide action bar borders, or you can also keep them but customize how they look here. You can also clean up how your action bars look by hiding things like macro names and changing macro font, changing the keybind font, any kind of customization with the font you want. You can turn on out of range coloring, so when you target someone who's out of range, it makes your spells that you'd normally cast them turn red, or whatever color you want. You can hide other bars. So for instance, I have my bag bar on mouse over and my MicroMenu on mouse over, so they aren't always showing. You can also enable a GCD bar like this, and then you can edit that GCD bar inside of edit mode with any color, texture, whatever you want. You can also enable combat text, something I used to have a weakaura for, especially as a healer when I want to be able to drink. Let me show you what it looks like. So it looks like this. You can go ahead and configure where this is, how big it is, what it looks like inside of edit mode. This add-on can also hide the cooldown manager if you want. It's split into every single portion of the cooldown manager, and you can set it to only load in combat, to only load when you are not mounted, or mounted if for some reason you want that, on mouse over, or when you have a target. The add-on also has a HideTalkingHead feature. So HideTalkingHead is sometimes when an NPC wants to talk to you, they pop up with this big like dialogue screen. Usually default, it shows up at the bottom of your screen. I'll try and put an example up here. It makes it so that doesn't happen. You can disable death effects. So sometimes for things, especially like Covenants and Shadowlands, you get a death effect. It makes it so that no longer happens. Hide MicroMenu notifications. So as you can see, my MicroMenu, when I hover over it, it looks pretty clean. If I uncheck this, then there's little diamonds. Those diamonds are telling you to click it, open it up, and they won't go away until you get rid of whatever it is. It basically makes it so that it isn't there anymore if you do have your MicroMenu showing a lot. Hide raid tools and party. This is that pop-up that shows over here on the left. It makes it so that won't show up anymore. Next, we have Cooldown Panel Editor. So this is really nice. This lets you add custom bars. As you can see, I already added obsidian scales. So as you can see, I have a custom bar with obsidian scales, and you can add even more and as many panels as you want. To this, you're going to open the Cooldown Panel Editor, and then you can already have one panel made. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. I'm going to make this one, I'll rename it, and then you add by spell ID. So I'll just go ahead and add Living Flame to this. So 431-443, and then I hit enter. And then we hit edit mode. After you've added it, you can go ahead and edit it similar to like you would any other panel inside of the default edit mode, except it has extra settings so you can show the stack item and count if you're adding an item, charges, and then extra stuff for showing how the cooldown is. If you want to add an item like health bot, you just need to look for the item ID. So here it is 212271. And if you want to add something like trinket, you can just hit the add slot button and then go trinket 1, trinket 2, which is nice because you don't have to keep re-adding it. And if you want to change the order of how things show up, you can go ahead and drag. If you don't want them to be linked, just make extra panels and you can make them individual things as well. You can also turn on an action tracker. This is something that Details used to do. So mine is over here on the top left. I already have it enabled. So every time I cast spell, it just shows in the action tracker. For me, an evoker that uses stasis, this can be useful, or if you're a streamer, or if you just want to see what your past casts have been, you can turn this on. There are a bunch of map options, including those that replace TomTom. So you can use the /weight command the same way that you did Tom. You can make your minimap square. You can also change the size of your minimap by enabling the scale, make it really tiny or really big. You can also make the extra add-on buttons you have on the minimap hidden until you mouse over. You can add a button to the minimap to quickly change your loot specialization. It doesn't change your actual spec, just changes your loot spec. And if you don't like all the clutter of your add-ons on your minimap, you can go ahead and hit the enable button sync. And then it makes one little button with all of your add-ons that you can then click on from here pretty easily. It also lets you in the add-on actually show which ones are going to show up on the minimap if you only want certain ones to show up, and you don't have to go into each individual add-on and configure it. Data panels are really customizable, and the closest thing that I can compare them to would be like Titan panels from back in Classic. You can customize it to show goal, durability, coordinates, so many things. Let me show you. So the way you do this is you go ahead and you go add panel, go to name, I'm just gonna give it 1, and then you can go into edit mode. And inside edit mode, which is Blizzard's native cooldown manager, you can go ahead and customize it. The main thing you want to look at is where it says streams, and this is where you can track all those little things you want to see. So your talent loadout, the time, your Mythic Plus stuff, your micro bar. It can show you a currency if you're tracking that, or gold. It can also show you your durability, the difficulty, what equipments that you're wearing, and your stats. Once you do that, you can go ahead and change if there's an outline or a shadow. It is how it wants to be, and then you can move it. So if you want it to be like that old add-on you used to have, you can customize it a lot more. You can add different panels, so you can change the ordering and stuff like that. but just give you an example of all the things you could do with Datapanels. As far as customizing actual Unitframes goes, there's this Unitframes options, and there's also, when you scroll down, a EnhanceQOL custom Unitframe that you can do. That's what I have over right here, and there's a lot of options to customize it once you actually get into the edit mode. There's so many options. So if you want to use this as like a lightweight option instead of getting a whole other add-on, I definitely encourage you to play around with this. Under tooltips, you can do basic tooltip stuff where you can hide if it shows up or not. There's also a couple of fun features, including being able to auto preview housing items. I like being able to see item IDs on tooltips so I can easily add them to my custom bars. You can also have it show quest ID. This is really nice, especially when there's a bunch of quests. It doesn't happen as often anymore, but they'll have the same name so that you can find the one that you're on. You can also enable showing Mythic Plus rating or things like their spec and item level whenever you hover over someone on our tooltip. The last section inside of interface is the mover. So this is really nice because it lets you basically be able to move anything. What do I mean by that? Let's say you have like your player frame. I can move this anywhere I want, and same for basically any other window inside of WoW. I can move. One thing I'll say about this is it's kind of sneaky and different than the actual add-on move anything is that it's automatically going to set a modifier key for you to be able to move. So instead of just being able to move without pressing anything, I have to hold down shift in order to be able to move things. To automatically open all things you get, like those annoying seashells, you can go ahead and click this option to automatically open containers. You can add item level gems and enchants to the character panel pane. Let me show you what that looks like. It looks like this. You can also hide this down here if you don't like this. It just shows which gems I currently have in. The enable gem socket helper makes it so that whenever you go to gem anything, it automatically gives you a UI to easily gem. So you can see down here, these are the gems that are in my inventory. And then I can go ahead and replace them or add them. And then for quick loot items, this is for if you have bugs with auto looting. To move group loot roll frames, you can go ahead and click this option and then go into edit mode. This is my group loot anchor. I'm going to go ahead and put it over here out of the way. Enable moving the loot toast. This is just like when you loot something and it pops up. If it's in an annoying position, like default, it's down here over my frames, and sometimes that is annoying, so I'm probably going to move it. So I'm going to move that again up over here. You can also filter what shows up in your loot toast. You can add spec icons, the encounter journal, so that when you're looking for something, especially at the beginning of an expansion, trying to figure out what items you need where, now it shows that I need to be a certain spec. And then for things that I don't need to be a certain spec for and it's for everyone, then it just puts a star next to it. You can also click this option. So if you go to delete things and you get tired of having to type in delete to delete them, you can go ahead and click this option at your own discretion. You can also add extra confirm dialogue. So for something like if you're crafting something from patron order and it asks you to use your own materials, then it gives you an extra prompt to make sure that you want to use your own materials before you do it, and so on for the rest of these. And in mouse and accessibility, this is where you can add a visible ring around the mouse. So if you like having that, and there's a lot of options down here for you to customize that ring however you want. And also there's a mouse trail. There's a lot of options for you to customize this, including how much you want it to be and then what color you want it to be, and you can also set it to only be in combat. Under gameplay, you can turn on auto accept and autocomplete quests. I also like adding the wowhead link into the quest context menus in case I'm having trouble with the quest and I want to look it up. You can auto skip cinematics. You can also turn on Keystone helper. This used to be an add-on. Basically this makes it so that when you go and click the keyhole, it automatically puts your key in if you have the correct key. And then under Groupfinder, there's a lot of options for being able to filter which dungeons you're looking for, adding a Radar.io link, showing your own Mythic Plus score, and also if you're the one with the key and you want to sort it from highest to lowest Mythic Plus score. And this is what the filters look like. And then as you can see the score of the people that already have their groups going and things like that. You also add a hold to release if you're a rage releaser after you die. Automatically accept reses. I probably wouldn't turn this on. Auto combat logging can also be found under gameplay. And you can configure this to only log the kind of difficulties that you want. This add-on also has an automatic drink macro, so you don't have to make one. And then it also has an option for you to turn on if you're a healer to go and get water from a follower dungeon, which is a free way to get mage food before a key. It also has the option to enable a health macro if you'd like that kind of thing, and you can set up kind of the priorities down here pretty easily. This add-on also has an option to use all mounts for random mount. Under gameplay, you can also turn on enabling the teleport frame, so you can put it on your minimap, but for me, I have it in my PvE frame. Also under gameplay, there's an option for a talent reminder. This is really nice. All you have to do is scroll down to the spec that you're playing and then select whichever talent loadout for that spec that you want it to tell you to do whenever you zone in. And then when you zone in that dungeon, it'll put text on your screen saying you need to switch your talent spec to the correct one. They have a lot of options to customize your chat window, including having it have up to 2,000 lines if you want that. When you want your chat to fade, if you want it to fade at all. Normally I don't really like it. If you don't want your combat log to show, you can go ahead and hide that so then it's not showing. Instant Messenger, this does what it sounds like, which is pop up a whole new window every single time you get a whisper. You'll never miss a DM again when you turn this on. Enable chat history lets you be able to go back really far. Say somebody said something and you forgot what they said. You probably don't need to have everything turned on, but it's pretty useful. You can also block dual requests, party invites, that kind of things if you're getting harassed by people. Friends and communities, you can just make your friends list look a little bit better, which I like. It looks a little bit more clean. And then mailbox, you could just add something for your own characters and also remember last recipient. Under economy, this is where we're going to turn on auto repair, and you can also turn on auto always use guild bank funds if you have that option. Urgent UI, this has some nice options. So it grays out items that you already know. And then also it makes each pane bigger. I'll show you that. It makes the vendor pane much larger like this. So you don't have to scroll through as many pages. The auction house, a nice thing to have is to look for current expansion only. There's also a feature called craft shopper, and let me show you, this is life-changing for me at least. So when you go to craft something, if you didn't know, you can go ahead and click track recipe once you do, and it shows up with what you need. So I need 1 boundless cipher and 5 codified greenwood. So normally I would go to the auction house and then I would type those things in after I did that. This add-on puts it right here, and all you have to do is hit search. Oh my god, so nice. This add-on also has auto sell. So if you're basic like me, you can just turn on the automatically sell junk items and ignore the rest. But if you are doing a lot of other stuff and you like other things to be auto sold because you're picking up a lot of random stuff, there are so many options to configure how you auto sell. For sounds, there's some pretty unique options, including sounds to mute. So you can enable annoying sounds from other people's pets. Specific NPCs, especially Xal'atad's voice lines in dungeons, I find these annoying. If you don't like the train sound, if you don't want a sound to play when you get a whisper, you can also enable extra sounds based on what's happening. For instance, you can have a custom sound whenever you get a whisper if you didn't like the default one. Under shared media, this is if you want to turn on all of their extra available sounds and things that they have. And then for profiles, you can set up different profiles for different characters or import and export profiles if you want to do that for some reason. For this, I don't see a reason. Now for the Unitframes, maybe you do want to import and export, and there's a separate option just for that. Thank you so much for watching. I know this video was a lot. The main purpose of this video was to give people something they could find when they search, how do I add this old add-on feature that I used to have, and then they can find it in this video easily instead of this being like a full tutorial that you watch from beginning to end. But if you did for some reason watch from beginning to end, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye.